Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in, 51 for Jason Tatum.
The Big Three NBA podcast is powered by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Hello, everyone. Welcome into this week's episode of the Big Three NBA podcast. I'm Kwani Lunis, joined by Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn. And we're going to start the show with some amazing news.
Kwani is so damn hyped, y'all. You would think she had like a bag full of Skittles or something. Like, she's just bouncing off the damn ceiling.
I'm so excited. So we are one of the finalists for the Sports Podcast Awards, specifically in the Best Basketball Podcast category.
Everyone happy with Gary.
Gary's so excited.
Gary says, we can't do nothing to get that dude excited.
Come on, one day it's going to happen. So what that means is, though, we need your help, of course, because there is a voting process that's involved. If you actually watch it on YouTube, yes, fans are the reason why the winner will be decided. And so if you actually go to the Sports Podcast Awards website, you could just head there and go to the Best Basketball Podcast category and then vote for us there. But we're going to also make sure to drop the link in our YouTube description for this episode. And also, if you follow us on social, I'm going to post. I already posted, but I'll make sure that it's pinned somewhere it's easy to find. They will do the same, I hope. But it's great news, but also we couldn't have done any of this without the people that listen and watch on a regular basis. So thank you all for helping us get to this point. I'm really excited.
And Kwani hasn't been this excited in a long ass time.
She
wasn't
even this excited when
she met Michael B. Jordan. Yes, I know.
She was not this excited when she met Michael B. Jordan.
I knew the joke was coming. Yes, honestly, Michael B. Jordan, you should vote for us as well because
facts.
That would make it even more of a sweeter victory.
No, he might have like some gripe with you.
Maybe he could post on his story and then that
might be it might be a fail.
He'd be like, take her off the list.
Like nah. See, you'd be like, I would have rocked with you. What happened was
I was gonna vote for you,
but you lack enthusiasm.
See, what happened was, why was you that enthusiastic about me?
Oh my gosh!
God.
Making blockbuster movies, you treat me like I'm chopped steak or something. Man.
Oh my goodness. But yes, that is, I'll give people the website just in case. The sportspodcastgroup.com. Go on their website. You'll look for the shortlist category, and then you'll head to the Best Basketball Podcast category, subcategory, and then vote for us, the Big Three NBA podcast. Coming to you live.
Yes.
All right. So the reason why you listen, though, is because we talk about the Celtics. Let's get right into it. The Celtics getting some downtime. They're going to be facing the Detroit Pistons, Sherrod's favorite team, this upcoming Thursday. That's their only game this week. But do you guys think that this lull in their schedule is coming at a good time? Let's just start off the bat with that.
I think it is. I think the timing is good because they look like they could use a few days to just kind of recalibrate and just kind of really sharpen up a few things. I don't think they have been as crisp as they want to be and should be. And I think this time off it comes at a perfect time. And again, they're reintegrating themselves on the court against a team that's going to make them work. The Detroit this is not the Detroit Pistons of last year, team that will win they wouldn't win like their 10th game until damn near April Fool's Day or something like that. This team is way better than that. And they're going to give the Celtics a good run. And they typically do. They make the Celtics work. And for the Celtics, I think that's the perfect team for you to play when you have a week where you're not doing a whole lot. A team that's going to make you work and just become a little bit more crisp in what you do. And a team that really, even if you're not at the top of your game, you still should win by 8, 10, 12 points.
Yeah, I do think it's a good time for a break. I think they've been banged up. I think Jason Tatum has not quite been himself. Kristaps Porzingis twisted his ankle against Memphis. He's not on the injury report for Celtic fans for Thursday, which means he's in. Same with Al Horford. You get your guys, older guys, some rest. I think this stretch is good. Then you get 2 days off, and you play Washington. Then I think you get another 4 days off. You play Chicago. So a real nice break in the next week or so in the past few days for the Celtics. So yeah, I just think they needed to lick some wounds, get over that game. When your schedule has Milwaukee, and they're playing better, and you're able to eke that game out, and you come back the next day with Ja and them and the Memphis Grizzlies and Marcus Smart. That's a tough back-to-back for anybody, and Memphis was ready for them. They were rested. They had the day off. So they're coming in there wanting to make a point that they hadn't won at the Garden in 11 years. They hadn't, beaten the Celtics, I think, in 6 years. So I think that was a big game for Memphis. And then you're coming off that emotional win over Milwaukee. So I think it was good for them to get 3 days off. They returned to practice on Wednesday. And then you got Sherrod's guys tomorrow, the Detroit Pistons coming in. Couple more days off. Then you got at Washington, a team that's tanking. You should not lose that game. You should not have to try your hardest to win that game.
That's basically a practice day. A practice day.
And Washington's trying to lose at this point. So that should be, if you think 2 dubs, and then you go into a couple of games with Chicago, then Orlando, and then the Christmas Day game against Philadelphia.
Let's get into a quick game of pick and roll. It sounds like I know your answers already, but I still want to hear whether or not that's correct. Getting rest now versus playing in the Emirates Cup. Pick one, and why are you rolling with it?
Go ahead, Gary.
I thought the Emirates Cup would have been good for them to get to that high-level competition. And they would have got a couple of days off, but, and they would have, I think, they wanted to play in that big stage. Although rest is good, and for the long term, it really doesn't matter because obviously the Lakers won the cup last year and they lost in the first round of the playoffs. So, it's a separate, honor for them to play, separate award. I think it would have been good to see those guys in that spotlight facing up against some of the league's best. Like, who knows? I mean, if they would have been able to play Oklahoma City in the title game or something, that would have been a great game. Those 2 teams play early January, so we'll get a little sneak preview of the NBA Finals. We'll see, but it's close. I mean, the rest is good, and they would have had to play a lot because if they would have gone, the quarterfinals would have been Tuesday. Then again, going to Vegas on Saturday, they would have made it through. But I thought that would have been really used for them, and it's something that they did want. As much as you can say, oh well, we don't really care who it doesn't matter. No, I think they really wanted to get there, and they are upset that 1 point loss to Atlanta is what cost them.
Gary, this was not close. They need the damn rest, Gary. At the end of the day, Gary, there's only one goal that matters. There's a lot of, man, this will be nice moments, but there's only one goal that matters, and that's an NBA championship, bro. Getting rest brings you closer to making that happen. If you're going to be the last team standing, if you got to play Oklahoma City, you play them when you need to play them. You play them when you have to play them. Beating them now means nothing. Beating Dallas now means nothing. Beating those teams that are near the top now means absolutely nothing. But if you can get some rest and strengthen your team as a whole and continue to build on what you've already started this year so that when you get to April and then you get to May and then next thing you know, you're playing into June, nobody going to remember what happened in that damn cup in Vegas. The Lakers showed us the blueprint of what a empty, hollow championship is about. That's what they got last year. And I'm hoping this year at the Cup that somebody like Atlanta wins it because they could use something like that because that is a franchise that has little to no significant basketball history or championship pedigree at all. And for them, you might get a parade down Peachtree if they win the Emirates Cup championship.
Who gonna be here? Outcast, Loonies,
Andre 3000, Usher baby, Ludacris. Yo, hey, that'd be kind of fly.
Actually,
yo.
would be
Hey,
where's the shade?
hey,
no, I ain't clowning.
Hey.
Okay, I'm making sure.
I started this rant by dissing them, but
and then now
I'm really not.
I want to that championship parade.
I just might have to fly into the ATL to cheer them on for that.
T.I. Shoot.
Damn.
Shoot, let's do it.
Yo, go Hawks. Let's go Hawks. No, but the Celtics could use the rest, though. I just think that at the end of the day, that is what's going to be the only thing I worry about them that will keep them from winning a championship is injuries. And I think anytime they can get off their feet and just work on the fundamentals and just sharpen up their game, That's a good thing. And I think about a guy like Derek White, for example, and some other guys on this team that I think have some kind of nicks, kind of bumps and bruises that they could use some downtime. And to me, the value in them getting rest is worth more than the value of them winning a midseason championship. And again, it'd be nice if they got it, but Jason Tatum ain't losing no sleep or real bread if we keep it 100 about not being there. And if you ask, I think most of these guys, would you take an opportunity to get some rest, which might better prepare you for a deep playoff run versus, an extra game or two against quality teams? Because, think about it. The NBA did the Celtics the solid of all solids after they didn't qualify for the Cup. They didn't just give them like two opponents. They gave them a average to slightly below average opponent at home.
We was just talking about how good Detroit is now. What you talking about, Sherrod?
They average. Gary, they went from being trash to being slightly below average.
My boys in the D. Don't go back there no time soon, Sherrod.
Gary,
my boys in the D.
Even my boys in the D recognize they were trash last year. Now they're slightly below average. They're much better. Much better. But they gave the Celtics that team to play at home, and then they gave them the team that is trying to be trash on the road. So the Celtics, in terms of games played that they had to add to their schedule, they could not have possibly added two more weaker teams other than maybe take out Detroit and bring in Utah. That would have been, to me, that's about the only way you could have made this a easier 2-game stretch for them. And that's great for the Celtics because, again, like I said earlier, you work on your fundamentals because you got a little more time to rest and relax and just practice. And you're not necessarily playing one of the top tier teams, so that it's not like you got to be playing at your A or A minus to hell B plus game to beat these two teams. So that's a good thing for Boston as they kind of gradually get back into the swing of things and continue to keep that pressure on Cleveland for that top spot.
Gary. All right, let's get into trade talks because they've already begun. What do you both think that the Celtics would want? And also, what would they be willing to part with in order to make those big moves, if any?
See, the thing about the Celtics, when the season began, and we all talked about this, like there really wasn't a major, man, if they had this, they're over the top. Looking at the way this season is played up now, we're a little bit more than a quarter of a way through it. If there's one thing that I think they could probably benefit from, I think is another wing player, like a legitimate wing player. Because, I look at Jason Tatum, I look at Jaylen Brown, Derek White. It'd be nice if they had another guy that they could kind of throw in there because Sam Hauser has done a solid job. And that's just all you can expect out of Sam. He's going to knock down shots. He's going to be, do what he can defensively, but he's not necessarily a game changer per se, unless he's really got to roll him from 3-point range, which is possible. But it'd be nice if they had another guy they could maybe throw in the mix from time to time. And as far as who they part with, I look at that bench. Springer is to me the most obvious guy that they would be willing to cut loose. It'd save them some money, and that's a roster spot that at this point isn't really getting much use. When you look at, for example, you look at Springer and you look at Peterson, who's on a 2-way. If you didn't know better, you think that Jaden was on a 2-way and Peterson was on, kind of the end of the bench, guaranteed deal as far as like how the confidence that those guys have from Joe Mazzulla in terms of who plays and who doesn't. So I just don't think the Celtics have a lot of options that they're seriously considering parting with because, again, you look at their top 10 players. I don't know if you can find a better top 10 players on any roster in the NBA from top to bottom in that regard. And when you're that deep, you're not really looking to make many moves, particularly when you have a bunch of players that you have signed to contracts that go above and beyond the current season we're in.
Yeah. I think Springer's a guy that they could look to move if they really needed that. And Sherrod's right. Like they don't have any glaring weaknesses. You would like to see another wing, but you also maybe do you give Jordan Walsh a chance to fill that role? Like he's a guy who's had some moments this year. He's played some key minutes. There's some games he hasn't played. I know he had a quick stint last week in the G League. He went back down to Maine for a minute, but came back up. So, he's a guy that they could maybe look at and say, okay, we want to give him more playing time. Like you said, I don't think they have any glaring weaknesses. Not that they're going to get out there in the trade market. Could they use a major shot blocking center? Of course. Could they use another 3-point shooter? Of course. Every team could use these things. But another versatile wing defender, maybe. Or you say to yourself, okay, we're just going to put more on Jordan Walsh's plate. We'll see. So I don't think, like you said, I don't think they have any glaring weaknesses. I don't know how active they would be in the trade deadline unless it was somebody that is going to make them unequivocally the favorite to win the championship. Like, oh, this is a guy who's going to put us over the top. And remember, with the second apron, they're limited in the moves that they can make. Right? They can't buy. They can't. If a guy gets bought out of his contract down the road, like he has to make under the mid-level exception, which is $11 million. So they can't. If there's a really good player who's making $30 million who gets bought out the final year of his deal, like Jimmy Butler. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but let's say Jimmy Butler, they have no shot at him. They couldn't do that. It has to be an expensive guy. So we'll see. And also, I think in terms of like what happens, the trade deadline's about 2 months away. Like, is there going to be an injury that comes up that they need to fill a need? Or is there something glaring that's going to eventually evolve? But right now, I don't see anything like, oh, man, they need to get this person or they need to get this position right now, or else I don't think they can win it. I think they can win it with the team that they have.
Yeah, there's definitely very few paths that the Celtics can take that you just don't – that you see don't result in them winning it all. So they're definitely have positioned themselves to be big winners. And you, my people out there, can position yourself to be big winners with our good friends at Prize Picks. Is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made it super easy. Daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 200 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. And again, make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. And once again, you can now win up to 200 times your money on Prize Picks. Just join now, because this holiday season, they're giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. That's a lot of presents for Gary Washburn. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday, each Tuesday, obviously. Prize Picks also discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Just sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this basketball season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long. And again, if you want in, just download the app today and use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's download the app, use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
All right, let's get into Sherrod's favorite team in the NBA, the Detroit Pistons.
Slightly below average.
Off gifts of Gary's reaction, and we need an archive of all of them. The Detroit Pistons, they're playing the Celtics on Thursday at the TD Garden. What concerns you most about that game? I'll start with Gary.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, they played well the last time, and they hit season high 23-pointers. Tobias Harris played as well as I've seen him play in years against the Celtics. He's usually terrible against the Celtics or not existent. He had 27 points. Cade Cunningham was rolling. They got some key contributions from their guys. Not a great game from Jaden Ivey, but he had his moments. Marcus Sasser came off the bench. So they've got a talented young team. They're not gonna, they might make a push for a play-in spot, but they're at that point where they're losing a lot of close games. They're losing a lot of games that they're losing in the final, like the Celtics. Not, they rallied against the Celtics to cut it to 5 late, but like losing games in the last 4 minutes. That's the stage that they're at now. That they're still trying to learn how to win ball games under first-year coach of Pistons, JB Bickerstaff. But I just think they can bring – if you catch the Celtics, if they catch them off guard, remember, the Pistons went and won at New York against the Knicks last week. Like, Cade had a triple-double. Against us. Like, Cade's playing really well. If they come and they hit shots and they get some stops, it could be definitely an interesting game. The Celtics should win. They should coast. They should win easily, and especially well-rested with all their weapons ready to go. But this is not a team that you sleep on or go, oh, the Pistons are just going to piston. This is a new bunch, and I think that they're just right now learning how to win. But every now and then, like they did against the Knicks, they're going to win those games. They're going to win one of those games. They're going to play well enough to beat a team that's sleeping, that's off guard, that's a little erratic, or not playing well. And so the Celtics have to make sure to make, although you got all these days off, you're rested, you got to come back and be sharp. So a sharp Celtics team easily beats the Pistons.
Yeah, they remind me a lot of Orlando from like 2 or 3 years ago, where you could just see the pieces starting to come together. They're playing better. The talent is there, but they just haven't quite got that experience to get over the hump and position themselves to be one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. But they're coming. There's absolutely no doubt about that this Detroit team is coming. But when they arrive, it's going to be a minute before they get there, because they're just not quite ready to play at the level of the Celtics right now with any kind of consistency. They can knock them out every once in a while, and they certainly can beat them, but not surely based on talent. Many things have to go wrong for Boston that Detroit has little to no control over for Detroit to beat them. It happens all the time. We see it happen all the time in the NBA and in other sports as well. So I'm looking forward to the game, but my big concern for the Celtics is just boredom. That they don't play with the kind of focus that they need to beat this team. Because as Gary pointed out, if you show up and think that because you just showed up and you won a championship back in June, that they're just going to roll over and play dead for you, you might get that ass whipped by 10, 15 points. You might find yourself down by 20 in the first quarter. Detroit has guys who can play. And when you get like a damn near career type game from Tobias Harris, which he was pretty damn special last time they played, they become very difficult to beat. But that being said, Boston should win this game. They should win it comfortably. I think they will have some stretches, probably in the first half, more so in the second, where they're not going to be separating themselves the way they would want to. But I do think over the course of the game, the Celtics' double-digit lead should be pretty much able to be maintained for most, if not all, of the second half. And they get this win and just, again, pick up where they left off before, they took this nice little siesta.
The same could be said for that. The same could be said for the game on Sunday.
That means rest, Gary. In case
I think we all knew what that meant.
That's what I need. Gary needs the language translator, because clearly.
Last week you was talking about chimichangas for Thanksgiving. Now you're talking about a siesta.
That's a great point. I forgot about that.
What are you talking about, Sherrod?
Gay?
Oh my gosh.
Gay Poppy?
I'm not saying. I'm talking about you had burritos and enchiladas for Thanksgiving.
Having Taco Tuesday on Thanksgiving.
Feels like Taco Tuesday. Every day should be Taco Tuesday.
I'm with you on that one. That is my politics.
Facts.
Those are my only politics. Sunday's game against Washington, what should be the takeaway against the team that is taking?
That's Gary's team. Talk about your team.
How was that Gary's team?
How's that my team? I mean, it's just not to lose. Just the Wizards are trying to tank. They're not completely healthy. They have a bunch of young players. They're just trying to literally figure things out. So put them away early, make it a blowout. The last game was competitive. Washington played probably one of its better games of the season. The Celtics had to pull away in the last few minutes to get the dub. I think they won by 12. So if you want to make things easier on yourself, put them away early, and then you just play. I mean, they're a team that's prone to get blown out. I think they have the worst point differential in the NBA. They're a team that's just essentially tanking, folks. Like Washington, and I know it's like, well, geez, hasn't Washington tanked the last few years? Yes, it seems like they have, but they really haven't. But this is the year they're trying to go for Cooper Flag. They're trying to get the number one pick. They're trying to get a franchise. Yeah, they lose their games by an average of 16 points a game. That is by far the worst in the league. The next team is New Orleans at 11.7. This might even be a record. I'll look this up. But the worst point differential in NBA history. like they lose every game by 16 points.
Historic.
That's really bad, right? Really bad. So the Celtics should not have any trouble with 2 days off. Go down to DC, get your good dinner Saturday night or whatever you do.
Get you some good tacos.
Yeah, chimichangas. And
margaritas with the margarita.
And
sugar on the rim.
Yeah, so to me, that's what they should do. And then get a dub. Don't give them any hope. Take care of business, get out of there with a dub, and then you get ready for a few more days off against Chicago.
Yeah, that team they're bad in every sense of the word, and you're right. It's like the reboot is a reboot of the reboot with Washington. They're always rebooting, and they're just bad, man. I mean, I don't know how more we can lay it out to the people that this team is like incinerator trash. Like, you really want to burn this thing down. However, that being said, Jordan Poole can get going. And if you think back to when Washington has kept games relatively close, it's usually been a pool party. Him knocking down big shot after big shot after big shot. And then he goes into the witness protection program for like at least 2-3 quarters where he can't get a bucket because he ain't looking for a bucket. It's almost like he gets a message saying, okay, look, you got your numbers. Chill, just relax. You got your numbers. And he disappears. He's one of the few players that inexplicably can get you like 20 points in one quarter and get you 2 points for the next 3. Makes no sense. But you're right, Gary. I mean, this team ain't trying to win. I mean,
I'll just say this. I looked it up. The worst point differential in NBA history right now. Okay, minus 16.8. The 92-93 Mavericks, the couple years before they got Jason Kidd, back in the day when they were tanking, 15.2. Sherrod's favorite team, the 2011-12 Charlotte Bobcats. I think they won 7 games that year.
That team was so trash. Uniforms trash, players
lockout
trash.
short season. And another one of Sherrod's favorite teams when he was a little Sherrod, was a 72-73 Philadelphia 76ers. I think he went to the games as a little baby back then, little baby Sherrod.
Yeah, weeks old.
Yeah, weeks old.
I missed the season opener though.
Yeah, Sherrod was crying because they was losing every game by 12 points. So
I was still in my mama belly, so I missed the season opener.
Sherrod was crying because the one game, they had family night and little Sherrod went. And just got their ass kicked.
I hate this dude.
This is so ridiculous.
I hate him.
They drove down from Syracuse to Philly in a little station wagon. Everybody had a Ford station wagon. Went to the Spectrum and watched the damn Sixers get their ass kicked. So the Wizards could be the worst team of all time. We'll see about the victories. They've got 3 now, I think. They're 3-20. Let me see here. What are they? 3-19. Okay.
About to be 3-20. About to be
3-20. But we'll see. But yeah, the Celtics should not lose this game.
No. The Celtics should not lose that game. And certainly, if you want to see them play, the tickets are going to be pretty damn cheap. And if you really want really inexpensive tickets, Game Time app is what you are looking for. For those of us who want to watch our favorite college and pro teams play and don't want to mortgage the family home to do so, Game Time has you covered with great ticket prices on all types of sporting events as well as concerts. When I'm thinking about going to a football game, the first place I go is Game Time. And all of us have football games, it looks like, in the bowl season. Gary, your Cal crew is going to, I think it's the LA Bowl. It's going to be in Inglewood. Inglewood. And my crew, Syracuse, we are going to San Diego for the Holiday Bowl. And I think BC, y'all got that pinstripe joint, right? Y'all going to Yankee Stadium.
Going to New York. Going to New York.
Again. The last time I was at the pinstripe, I turned around to go to the bathroom and our kicker missed a field goal. Never again. We lost that game. Very upset. And I brought my brother's tickets for that game too. We were a little sibling outing. Man. No, but they're better this time.
They are better than that. They are better than that. And you definitely should think about, checking them out, especially if you can get especially through Game Time, where you can get a really good price on the tickets. And the other cool thing about Game Time app is the all-in pricing that shows you what you got to pay before you get to the checkout. And again, you get a panoramic view of the seats at Yankee Stadium if, let's say, you're going to the Pinstripe Bowl, and you can pick the seat that you choose, and you can do that before you buy. So because of the panoramic view that you get before you buy, you have a pretty good idea of what your sight lines are going to be like once you actually get to the arena. And to get in on this, all you got to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, just download the app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off. Terms apply. What time is it? Game time.
I got a little tip, Sherrod. I got a little tip.
Oh, God.
Speaking of that. Being, oh, God, really? That's your reaction? Now, remember, folks, tomorrow's game was not on the original schedule, so tickets are cheaper for tomorrow's game than normal Celtic games. So if there's any tickets available, I'm sure they are, and let's say Sherrod is saying Game Time, the tickets will be probably 50% less than they usually are because there was not an original game on the schedule. So if you're a Celtic fan in Washington, you want to go see the Celtics play the Wizards in Washington, it's going to be the same situation. Those two games, obviously, folks, were not part of the original schedule, so tickets were not available to a game that didn't exist. So the tickets have been available now a few days, and the tickets are cheaper because it's Christmas time. People are in the streets doing their thing. There's all kinds of stuff going on, so people are like, well, I'll just miss that game. Or season ticket holders, I'm sure they have access to go to those games, but that's a Thursday. I'll just pass on that. So if you want to get a discount or more inexpensive ticket to an NBA game, if you're in the Washington area, want to see the Celtics, or tomorrow's game against Detroit, jump on Game Time or jump on, and try to see what you can do, and you might save some considerable money and go to a quality NBA game because, as Sherrod said, Detroit's not that trash anymore. So that's a sales pitch for the game, right? So
they're slightly below average. That was a pitch. They're now
Celtics played a slightly below average Detroit Pistons. Get your tickets now.
And you can get them tickets, Gary. You can get them tickets for that game.
What kind of sales pitch is that?
You can get those tickets for as low as $28. When the hell could you get in the TD Garden for $28?
Exactly.
So back in the old Garden, as people
download the app, jump on it now.
And if you want to get like a Loge corner seat, that's like $60, which again, that's ridiculously low. So if you want to get to this, if you want to see the Celtics play, because let's be honest, you jump on that. I jump on it now. This is
tomorrow, but jump on it now.
This is real time stats we got here. That's a great.
Well, you gotta have me do the sales pitch.
No, honestly, because I got Gary now.
Well, come on, Sherrod. You talking about an below average team? You got to hype up the Pistons so these people can get something worth their dollars.
People come to see the Celtics. People come to see the Celtics. So let's stop. See, Gary, that's the problem with folks from Cal. They try to twist and contort the facts. Contort the facts. The fact is, people are not coming to TD Garden to see the Detroit Pistons. They're coming to see the Boston Celtics, and they can come tomorrow and see them for ridiculously cheap.
Jump on it right now. After this podcast, now don't sign off the podcast, of course.
When we done, y'all. When we done, then y'all can do this.
But buy my album first.
No, my brother, you got to get your own.
Buy my album first. But get and jump on it because I said those tickets are 50% less cheaper than they usually are because the game was on an original schedule. So go catch a game. Try to take your family. It's a good experience.
That's a great idea, Gary. You mentioned Cooper Flagg, the projected 2025 number one pick. And I want to quickly pivot off the rundown because I should have mentioned this to you guys earlier, so it might be blindsiding you. But AJ DeBunsa, who's actually from Massachusetts, committed to BYU on Tuesday. And it's funny because the first thing I thought of was like, why is he going to BYU? But then my green flags went up. I was like, Danny Ainge has to be involved in this. lo and behold, I read an article. Danny Ainge was part of it. So Danny Ainge knew him, when he was rising in the ranks, obviously here in Massachusetts before he ended up back in Utah. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on him going to BYU, but also obviously being projected as a top pick in 2026. I mean, does that end up? I mean, for him, I imagine he'd want to end up back home. But what do you guys think the future looks like for AJ?
Well, first of all, AJ is one and done. Let's just get that out the way. He's going to do one semester. They officially it's called 1 year, but he's going to do one semester at BYU, and he's going to be really good. This is an example of what happens when NIL money levels the playing field, because there is no way, if NIL money wasn't a factor in all this, that he would go to BYU. Because with NIL, you can basically, whether you go to Brigham Young or Boston College or the backwoods of Tennessee, you're going to get paid. You're going to get paid, and that gives folks like AJ more options. But this isn't the first time that Danny has tried to. Danny's presence has played a role, at least a player thinking about, coming out BYU. Gary, his name is escaping me now. He's from Chicago, played for the Celtics for a hot minute.
Jabari Parker.
Yes, Jabari Parker. That was another one that Danny was
another local kid too. Yeah. Well, no,
Jabari wasn't local.
Oh no, sorry, I was thinking about Chris Dunn for some reason. Disregard.
No, forget about Chris. No, nobody think about Chris Dunn.
When he was Providence kid, everybody like, oh, he wants to come to Boston. And I was like, I don't know about all that.
No.
I don't know how I got those wires crossed. Disregard.
But Jabari Parker was another kid that BYU was very involved with, that they just couldn't get the deal done. And which makes me think, if NIL would have been around back then, he probably would have went to BYU. Because he spoke very highly about that school after he made his decision to go to Duke. So no, AJ's going to be fine. I mean, he's going to get paid in his 1 semester, 1 year at BYU. He's going to be a top pick when he comes out, and I'm happy for him, because to me, the thing that I like about NIL is that it gives players a certain amount of control over their destiny that they never had before. A lot of kids will go to like a Kentucky or to a Duke or to a Syracuse or somewhere like that, because that program offered them the best opportunity to have their skills showcased. But now, with the advent of so many different ways players are seen, and conferences all over the country are now a bigger deal, and you don't have social media, and you don't have the dynamic of, well, if I go to this school, I can probably get more above board benefits, where now everybody is cutting checks. So it's just a matter of whose check are you going to cash? And are you going to cash that check in Utah? Or are you going to cash that in North Carolina or Florida or New York, wherever? Yeah. So I love the fact that he is cashing in on this opportunity. And you better believe that in some way, shape, or form, Danny Ainge made it clear that if you come here, you're going to be taken care of. And that's a good thing. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's always great when alums make it clear that their schools are, you should come to my school. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, shout out to Brockton. I just wanted to make sure we gave him a little bit of love. We'll get back into the Celtics really quickly. Rotation station, talking about some of the Celtics. Of these three players, what's your rotation for who has benefited the most from the long layoff? Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis, and Derek White.
I'm gonna go first. I think the player who has benefited the most from this is Derek White, and I go with Derek because he's the one guy that there is no load management plan for. There's no way that he can strategically get rest during the season. So for him, this is it. This is pretty much the only planned time that he's going to get to rest his body. And when you look at the jobs, and that's plural, not singular, that they have him do, he's going to need as much rest as possible. I mean, they're asking him to be a playmaker, to be a shot maker, be an elite defender, be a shot blocker, and just roles that not everyone on this team is asked to do or expected to do. And yet he is, it's kind of been a given that he's going to fill those roles. So he would be the one guy I think has benefited the most. Behind him, I'd say Porzingis, because Porzingis, you really want to minimize as best you can, if you're the Celtics, his time on the court to play when necessary. You don't want him to play a second more than he has to out there, because he is going to be the difference in them winning or not winning a championship this year. I think last season they got some breaks along the way that made his value not quite what it needed to be in order for them to win. I just don't think they're going to be that lucky this year. They're going to need him to be a difference maker come playoff time. And Al Horford, he's the last one on my list simply because Al has shown the ability to adjust and adapt to whatever role he's needed to play. If you need Al to go back-to-back games, he still can do that. If you need him to do the load management, he's cool with that. He does whatever this team needs to win, and him getting a little bit of extra rest, yeah, it's a great thing, but it's not something that he necessarily needs in order to continue to have a prominent role and be a significant contributor to this team's success.
Yeah, I think benefits Porzingis because of the sprained ankle, because just when you're bringing someone back and he's played in now kind of a flurry of games, get him a break, get him a chance to get sharp with some good practices. Obviously, he practiced with the team before he was ready to come back, but it was also like, it wasn't like he practiced a month with them. He practiced probably a week, if that, and then was ready to go, and then they threw him in there. So now you give him some practice time, you give him some time to rest, get off of his feet, get that ankle rested, the surgically repaired ankle, and just get out there. And now Thursday and Sunday, like, he's not missing a game because they don't play it back-to-back until after the New Year. So I think it benefits Porzingis more just simply because of his body, his history. Al's always going to be Al. Al's going to be ready when they say, when they throw up the ball in center circle, he's going to be ready to play. Now, they're saving him from back-to-backs because obviously he's 38 years old. But I'm not as concerned with Al because Al's always going to be trying to do what he can to impact the game. Kristaps was a guy that I'm worried about. Derek White's in a little shooting slump. Could that be fatigue? Perhaps. But you'd like for him to get back on that shooting and become more of an asset. I know he had some open looks against Memphis that didn't go down. And I know the game before that against Milwaukee, I know he hit a big one in the fourth quarter, but he had been cold before then. But, I just think Porzingis is the one that benefits the most.
That makes sense. All right. Moving on. We'll quickly talk about the Cup real quick. Milwaukee edged out the banged-up Orlando team. OKC defeated Dallas. The Cup overall, who do you think is going to win?
I'm rooting for Atlanta.
You are rooting for Atlanta for that concert, of course.
Here's the thing about Atlanta. No, in all seriousness, and what convinced me was the last podcast I did with Lauren Williams last week, who covers the Atlanta Hawks for AJC, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. They, I think, finally figured out the right combination of players to put around Trae Young is one factor. The other thing is, and I don't think most people realize this, Trae is like 26, 27 years old. He still hasn't come into his own. I think he's playing with a different kind of maturity now than we've seen from him in the past. I mean, you look at his numbers, the dude is getting you like 25 and 12 every night. That is no small feat. And the irony is that, the big knock on him is that he's too much of a shot chucker. You don't get 12 dimes a night being a shot chucker. He's being much more intelligent about his playmaking. His defense is never going to be great, but to me, it just has to get to the level of being serviceable. And I think it's almost there. It's not quite there, but it's almost there. They're a team that could really cause you some problems. And they've got, you look at the guys like the Johnson kid and you look, DeAndre Hunter, they finally have him coming off the bench. And they did that primarily because he was hurt and they were bringing him back slowly. But they're realizing that, damn, he gives them some nice juice coming off that bench. And so, he's playing with Bogdanovich. They have a very good rhythm about them now. And Trae Young, I think, has finally figured out how to continue to be an elite top caliber player and do so without being a polarizing figure in the process. If you notice, there really hasn't been a lot of Trae Young drama this year, flapping his gums or people, getting on him about not doing this, not doing that. Yeah. And that's unusual for him. And I think it speaks to just his level of maturity and understanding that, at some point when you see this coach getting fired and that coach getting fired and that coach getting fired and you still around and you the face of the franchise, at some point they're going to be like, you know what, maybe this isn't about the coach. Maybe we need to talk to them folks over in Utah and maybe that's where you need to go. Or maybe we need to talk to them folks in Washington, D.C., one of these really bad teams that you have absolutely no intentions and desire to play for because they're bad.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you going to do to fix that? What are you going to do to show your growth that you're ready to be a leader, not just a leader of this team, but a leader of a successful team? And so Atlanta, I could absolutely see them winning this thing. I really could.
Sorry,
concert or no concert. Concert or no concert.
Well, they'll be playing New York. Trae Young versus Jalen Brunson. That will be a fun matchup to watch in general. But that's all we have for this week's episode. A reminder, vote. Your vote matters. And I'm not talking about the United States politics. I'm talking about the sports.
We're talking about podcasts.
Right. Sports podcast group.
Not the election. Not the election. We're talking about the podcast.
Oh my God.
We talking about podcasts, right?
I cannot. But please vote for us. That's all. I won't press the matter too much.
Give them the address again one more time, Kwani.
Yes, sportspodcastgroup.com. You go on their website. It should be the first thing on their homepage. Click on the podcast awards, then click on the best basketball podcast. The convenient thing is that we're the very first one in the list, whether you're on mobile or on desktop. So you'll see the three of our little faces.
So don't go too far. Don't go too far.
And also, it looks annoying because you have to go in and answer questions, but there's only 3 pages of questions, but they're short. If that's any consolation, because I know I was kind of annoyed when I had to click it and it said next, and I was like, really? But it wasn't that long. It will take you at max 2 minutes to vote for us. If you might be mobilely challenged. But all that to say, thank you guys all again for listening and watching. Once again, I want to make sure we give some more love to our partners. One, Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media Network. Also, a shout out to our good friends at Game Time. Like Gary said, you can go on there, get yourself a cheap ticket. They take the guesswork out of buying last-minute tickets to your favorite sporting events. All you have to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use that code that Sherrod mentioned, CLNS, for the $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But that's all we have. Any final words before we wrap this thing up?
I'm just excited to see that slightly below average team come to the TD Garden.
Slightly below average teams. Hey, those are the best games usually. For Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani Lunis. We appreciate you listening to the Big 3 NBA podcast.
Peace.